Well, g'day, Max here again. Welcome back to the shop. So this will be part 2 in the lathe chuck build series. Well, the mounting so we can run a chuck in the tailstock of the lathe. So remember last week we roughed out our taper, so we're going to finish machine and a final test fit of our taper, and we've got some milling to do, and then back into the lathe for some more turning. So yada yada yada, you know the drill. So before we hook over, I had a couple of channel stickers from Eddie over in America. His channel's called the Eddies, and it's really derived from the eddies, the flow of, I don't know, things going round and round. Here's his channel sticker. He has a lot of really mixed content on his channel, and yeah, some of it is quite worth checking out. So yeah, the Eddies. Eddie from the Eddies. Not to be confused with Steady Eddie. That's the comedian, if you don't know. From, shit, that was back in the 1980s, I think. Anyway, which way are we going? We'll go to the lathe and we'll finish off our taper. Oh, by the way, it's the end of the day, so I actually do the intros probably last, that's what I remember to do it. Hence, that's why that's there. It's not, that's there to start my day, that's there because it's the end of the day. So, cheers. Okay, we'll have one last test fit of our taper. So I have a very thin smear of bearing blue up in our Morse Taper 3 adapter sleeve. So that's as good as any. Funny material this, it gives a shithouse finish, but that's the way, we'll just roll with it. Okay, we have our radius tool here, so we'll just touch up, make this a nice radius, because it's good practice to do so, we don't want to leave a sharp corner. Okay, that'll take care of that. Now the next part is this area here, which is our seal area, so that's got to be taken down to 36 millimetre, and we are 36.4, so 0.4 of a mil to come off. I'll just split that into two 0.2 mil cuts. It should come out on size. and 0.2 to come off. Get the fluff out of it. The other day I invested in a set of these long handled pointy nose pliers, just a cheap set just for clearing the fluff. They work out quite well. Okay, what were we looking for? 36mm. That's looking good enough for a seal area to me. We're probably about 4 microns up on size, 3 or 4, that's fine. Okay, we'll just break this edge. So all it needs is just to give it a bit of a chamfer for the lip of the seal to ride up on when the shaft and seal get put together. So just give this a bit of a polish up with the emery, just in the radius there, just to tizzy it up a little bit. Now the next stage of the operation, what I think we'll do is we'll tackle the flats on the ejection tang. So off to the milling machine. Now this operation, we have to cut this radius in here. So I'm going to do that with a 5/8 end mill. So when you match the end of the cutter up, it's close enough for all intents and purposes of what this radius does. Okay, just a bit of a Sharpie marker so I can see when the cutter touches off a bit clearer. So we'll get our cutter touched off and we'll step across. We've got to come 5mm all up. So we'll probably just come 4 and see how it goes. Going to run the cutter on 600 RPM. There we go there. So I'll step across 4mm. That's not too bad, so I'll come the remaining 1mm. So that came out fine. Dillying around with the feed, it tended to want to chatter, but giving it a bit of feed, I only hand fed it, was able to feel my way, so the chatter disappeared. So we'll get you around the other side and we'll cut the other side. Okay, quick measurement. As long as we're within between 7.9 and 8mm, which is 5/16, and yeah, that's 7.96. So no, that's spot on. The tang, the width of this sits in a fair amount of clearance anyway. So okay, what I'll do is we'll rotate the job around now, 90 degrees. Approximately, and we'll just trim this end back to length. It has to be 20mm from the end of the radius on the tang, thereabouts, back to the end of the tool. Okay, so we're all cut to length, so I'll just give it a quick deburr with the Scotch-Brite wheel, which will come up well. So the only thing now, we'll put it back in the lathe and machine up the bearing journal here, and oops, we have a hole to drill and tap in the end of it. So I did play around. I was thinking I should really harden this, so I cut a small biscuit off the other end of the bar, and I went through the same procedure of heat treatment that I did with the arbors and that, the R8 arbor series some time ago. And for the steel I was using on the arbors, the heat treatment come up very well for the backyard method that I employed to do it, just with the oxy and a magnet and oil quench, and it come up really well. So yeah, I tried this, I did it actually twice, and I wasn't satisfied with the hardness that came up. I think it may have come up a little bit, but nothing nothing spectacular. So unless it comes up really hard, I can't grind them. With the tool post grinder, the finish you get on a soft steel, it's shit house. If the steel's needs to be about 50 rock weld, and then you'll get a good finish with a tool post grinder. So I'm going to leave it in its natural state, and for the amount of use that this will get, it'll be fine. So we'll stick it up the headstock of the lathe in our bush. So one way to test the taper, if you got it right, drop it in under its own weight and it will not come apart. That's the only way. So we'll get this set up in the lathe and finish the remaining operations. Actually, I just had a quick thought. While we've still got our 4-jaw chuck on, to save us a bit of twatting around, taking it on and off, we'll slip these two pieces in. We'll get these roughed out, ready for the weld prep, so we can weld them together. It'll just save us a chuck change, so we'll do that. So we're going to crack on and start machining, or rough machining, this hub part of the assembly. So this is our more detailed drawing of what our end product will look like. And this is the part we're going to make out of the two pieces of round bar which I've shown previous. So we need a game plan of how we're going to join the two bits together, which is this. So the shaded area is the hub part, the cross-hatched area is the flange, and the areas marked in red will be the welds where the assembly gets welded together. So this drawing details our step that we have to put in, where the flange will sit over the boss, and then we know then where we can put our weld preps in. We'll only require weld preps on the front face, as the rear is just a straight fillet weld all the way around. And then also we rough bore the centre to 40mm diameter, rough turn the outside to 76, and our lengths are 62, and turn back to the shoulder 42 from that end or 20 from that end. So these dimensions all have a couple of millimetres in allowance for final cleanup. So it doesn't really matter which part we do first. Whichever part I pick up is the part we'll do. Okay, I've placed you guys up a little bit higher in elevation, so you just get a view of the 4-jaw chuck instead of the 4-jaw chuck and the classic Australian outdoor brick thunderbox, complete with its asbestos roof. Now let's get this piece set up. So we want 62 all up, we need to machine to 42, it should be fine about there I think. Okay, we'll get a tool set up. Well, I'll tell you what, I know what steel this isn't, and actually ain't. There's no way that's mild steel. Not a hope in hell is that mild steel. Okay, well, we'll just have no option but to push on. I better run coolant with it. I'd have a good guess as this is 4140 or something. Look at this fucking rubbish here we've got to deal with. In the bin with that. This lathe does not have the horsepower to turn this material on that diameter with this CNMG insert. Let's swap it out. Right, we've got the TNMG insert in, so we'll give this a run. I'm expecting far better results. So we'll stick with the same speed, 360 RPM, 1/8 thou feed rate, and we were doing 40 to 50 thou depth of cuts before, so we'll just stick with that and see how it goes. And that's what we want to see. It's breaking a chip now. Quite hot, but that's what we're getting now. Instead of that other crap. And that was 50 thou. So it did that comfortably, so we'll keep going. That was, yeah, 50 thou end feed, so 100 off a diameter.